Armed, dangerous, unpredictable, and on the run. Police are warning everyone tonight, nationwide, be on the lookout.
It was the 29th of April, 2022, and the daring escape of inmate Vicky White and guard Vicky White from an Alabama jail captured national attention. What could possibly cause an inmate and a guard to disappear with no explanation? Did he blackmail her or kidnap her? From all indications, no. Stockholm Syndrome is when the kidnapped falls in love with the kidnapper. What do you call a situation where an officer falls in love with an inmate? Well, whatever we call it, that was exactly what happened between Vicky White and Vicky White. Despite sharing the same last name, they weren't related. But what was so intense about their story that a movie had to be made? What was behind the unlikely partnership between the law and the criminal that led to the bizarre turn of events? Well, that's what we're about to find out. Vicky White made a name for himself even before he met with Vicky. We travel back to 2015, where Vicky White went on a violent crime spree in Alabama. He broke into a home, stole a car, and engaged in a reckless police chase where he fired shots at officers. Body camera footage captured the intense standoff when officers finally apprehended White. He could be heard ranting in a disturbed state while refusing to put down his weapon.
Put the gun down, brother.
Sheriff?
Just put the gun down.
I'm gonna talk to Sheriff.
The sheriff will be here in a minute, okay?
Wait. Come from me, pack a mobile, had a cigarette all evening.
You want a dip?
Please.
You want a dip? I got a dip.
I don't want a dip, I want a cigarette.
You just want a cigarette?
I'm gonna pack a mobile and a sun drop.
You want a sun drop?
Sheriff?
The sheriff will be here in just a minute.
Sheriff, be here just a second, man, okay?
Hey, look, don't, why? Why, Casey? The sheriff's coming, Casey. Well, look, just calm down for me. Well, look. Just calm down for me, brother. The sheriff will be here in just a minute, okay? All right?
Sheriff's getting off on the Tanner exit.
Hey, it looks like it. Look, calm down for me, brother. Calm down, all right? Casey, the sheriff will be here in just a minute. Can you put the gun down? Casey, put the gun down. Casey. Casey, talk to me, brother.
Who is that?
This is Deputy Foxworthy. We met a long time ago. Don't you remember?
Justin Flanagan, you come to look for anybody here?
Not yet. You know me. You've met me several times, brother. Look, just put the gun down and it's no need in all this. I'm listening. I'm here. I want to talk to you.
Don't tell me this morning. They sent me right home.
Okay, well, just listen.
Don't come no closer.
Okay. I'll back up. Do you want me to back up a little bit? I just want to talk to you. I can't hear too good. I just want to talk to you.
Calm down. All right? Make y'all shoot me.
No.
Sheriff's here now, man. Sheriff just pulled up. Casey, you calm down. We're going to back up a little bit, okay? We ain't going to shoot you. No, Sheriff won't talk to you.
Vicky White's criminal activities and legal issues trace back to his turbulent upbringing in Alabama. White dealt with mental health problems from childhood, including a schizophrenia diagnosis at age 14. He was in and out of mental hospitals during his youth. Records also show Vicky White struggled with addictions to methamphetamine and other drugs. In his adult years, White had frequent run-ins with law enforcement. Lieutenant Shane Hunter from the Limestone County Sheriff's Department described White as extremely dangerous with a lengthy rap sheet. While detained in the Limestone County Jail after his 2015 arrest, Vicky White confessed to the unsolved 2015 stabbing murder of 58-year-old Connie Ridgway. He provided accurate details about the gruesome crime that had not been publicly released. Soon after, White was indicted on capital murder charges. Former Lauderdale County Sheriff Mike Blakely supervised the jail when White arrived in 2019 for court hearings related to the murder charges. Blakely recounted White's troubled history of mental health issues and addictions to methamphetamine and other drugs. but the inmate was mild-mannered in his interactions with the former sheriff. In 2019, Casey White went to trial and was convicted on multiple charges from his 2015 crime spree, including attempted murder, robbery, burglary, theft, and drug possession. He was sentenced to 75 years in prison. After the sentencing, White was transferred to William E. Donaldson Correctional Facility to serve out his sentence. While imprisoned there in 2020, Casey White made shocking revelations about the Ridgway murder case. He fully confessed to fatally stabbing the innocent woman to death in her Alabama apartment 5 years prior. According to court documents, White claimed he broke into Ridgway's home intending to steal her car and realized she was home. He then stabbed her and slit her throat. Authorities were astonished by the confession, given the immense detail White was able to provide. The new statements allowed prosecutors to move forward with the capital murder case for which White had already been indicted. White was transported back to the Lauderdale County Jail in February 2022 to attend court hearings related to the upcoming trial. White had long suffered from serious mental illness, including schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. Records indicated he had received mental health treatments since childhood, while he also had a history of abusing drugs, which exacerbated his psychiatric conditions. Specifically, he was addicted to methamphetamine, which made him fiercely volatile when combined with lapses in medication. After a full confession from White, prosecutors were seeking the death penalty in the Ridgway murder trial set for later in 2022. But in April, White made a shocking escape from the Lauderdale County Jail with the help of Assistant Director of Corrections Vicky White. Vicky White worked for nearly 2 decades as a respected corrections official in Lauderdale County, Alabama. But in April 2022, she made national headlines for allegedly helping free a murder suspect from her jail in a stunning betrayal of her profession. Vicky Sue White was born in Florence, Alabama in 1965. She grew up in the tight-knit community of Lauderdale County. After high school, White began working for the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Office in 1996 as a corrections officer. Over her career, White was promoted to Assistant Director of Corrections, the second in command at the county jail. She ran day-to-day operations and supervised other officers. She underwent training at the FBI National Academy, further establishing her credentials. The dedicated public servant was admired by colleagues as a consummate professional. She received numerous Employee of the Year awards. White always went by the book and appeared utterly committed to upholding the law. Even higher-ranking officials relied on her expertise. In 2002, White married Tommy White, who came from a local family she had long known. But Tommy reportedly struggled with substance abuse issues throughout their marriage. After 5 years together, the couple divorced in 2007. However, White remained close with her former in-laws. White had no children and seemed devoted to her career. She cared for her elderly mother, who lived next door. The two widows had dinner together every night. White was universally described as kind-hearted and loyal by those who knew her. In February 2022, capital murder suspect Casey White was transported to the Lauderdale County Jail, where he came into contact with high-ranking corrections official Vicky White. The 56-year-old married woman had worked at the jail for nearly 2 decades and had an unblemished record. But at some point over the next 2 months, Vicky developed a secret relationship with the 38-year-old inmate. It's believed the connection formed as Vicky gave Casey special privileges and additional food against protocol. Her motivations remain unclear, but the romance represented a shocking breach of her duties as Assistant Director of Corrections. Her ex-husband died in early 2022. Perhaps Vicky found comfort in the clandestine jailhouse affair. Whatever the reason, she became involved with a reputed white supremacist serving 75 years for attempted murder. Casey awaited trial for the grisly 2015 stabbing of an innocent woman. Vicky's unlikely bond with the incarcerated felon led her down a dangerous path that would ultimately destroy her career. In her final weeks as a free citizen, Vicky White liquidated her assets and made numerous questionable financial moves. On April 18th, she sold her home, valued at $235,600, for just $95,550 in a quick sale. She moved in with her elderly mother, who lived next door. Vicky started withdrawing large sums of cash from multiple banks. She purchased men's clothing from a department store and shopped at an adult store, presumably to aid in Casey's escape plans. 10 days before the jailbreak, Vicky checked into a hotel using an alias and stashed supplies. She bought a used orange Ford Edge under an assumed identity, paying cash. The vehicle would be crucial for the upcoming escape with Casey. Vicky's actions suggested meticulous preparation to disappear and live on the run with her imprisoned lover. Some speculate that Vicky hoped to start a new life and build financial independence with the nearly $30,000 cash found after her death. But questions linger about her sudden willingness to throw away her career, reputation, and relationships for an inmate. Perhaps Vicky envisioned herself as a modern outlaw fleeing with an edgy bad boy. Or maybe she hoped to help Casey clear his name and finally find an exciting purpose. Her exhaustion as a widowed caregiver over 2 lonely pandemic years may have also contributed. Regardless, Vicky White's risky decisions and suspicious transactions leading up to April 29th paved the path to disaster. On the morning of April 29th, 2022, Vicky White put an escape plan into action that must have been brewing for weeks. The woman synonymous with law and order was now overtly abetting a capital murder suspect. Vicky told the Lauderdale County Detention Center she was taking inmate Casey White to a mental health evaluation at the courthouse, but no such appointment existed. Against protocol, Vicky was transporting Casey alone with no second officer present. Surveillance footage shows Vicky nonchalantly leading the shackled prisoner to her patrol vehicle around 9:30 a.m. Meanwhile, she had submitted retirement paperwork to take effect that very day. Vicky likely used the routine assignment as a distraction, knowing the escape could be well underway before her use of unapproved leave raised concerns. Vicky drove Casey directly from the jail to a nearby shopping center, making no stops in between. Video captured the short trip, confirming Vicky's complicity in the escape plot. At the shopping center, Vicky had left her personal orange Ford SUV earlier that morning. She swapped vehicles with the inmate. After abandoning the sheriff's office patrol car, the pair took off together in Vicky's Ford Edge. Vicky somehow had access to a former jailhouse colleague's ID badge that morning and used it to impersonate her. She likely flashed the badge and a confident wave to breeze past checkpoints with the fugitive riding shotgun. It wasn't until around 3:30 p.m. that the jail realized the pair had completely disappeared. Vicky wasn't answering calls, and Casey had not returned from his fictitious evaluation. The escape prompted an urgent law enforcement alert. Vicky clearly used her authority and institutional knowledge to orchestrate the escape, down to the smallest detail. She forged paperwork, evaded security measures, faked a colleague's identity, and manipulated casual observers. The mastermind knew just how to game the system. The Lauderdale County Sheriff's Office issued a warning that inmate Casey White had escaped custody and possibly abducted Assistant Director of Corrections Vicky White. They described the fugitive and the sheriff's patrol car used in the escape. It was more than 24 hours before federal U.S. Marshals got involved. On May 1st, they offered a $10,000 reward for information leading to Casey White's capture. At the time, Vicky was still considered a potential hostage rather than an accomplice. The Marshals Service quickly realized Vicky's likely involvement. On May 2nd, they charged her with facilitating the escape and issued an arrest warrant. The Sheriff's Office announced Vicky's firing after nearly 20 years as a model employee. Here's what Vicky's mother, Pat, had to say in an interview with WAAY TV.
As a mother, I didn't know how to act, because I thought at first it was a mistake, and then when I found out for sure it was just a disbelief. I lay in there at night, and you can't get it off your mind. And then when you wake up, if you do fall asleep, that's the first thing that you think of. If you got a kid and she's out there, it's just like, she's in danger. I never heard of him, never seen his picture, nothing. I didn't know anything about him.
Sure.
We don't know if she was took by force or she was voluntarily in this. But we just want her back. That's all we want. She's never done any, I doubt she's ever even had a speeding ticket. But I mean, she's always been what I'd say a good person. And like I say, this is all a shock.
As the search intensified, urgent warnings plastered Alabama's roadways to be on the lookout for the dangerous fugitives. The Marshals Service released images of Casey's distinct tattoos, including those affiliated with the white supremacist prison gang, Southern Brotherhood. Day by day, the digital dragnet spread both online and offline as the manhunt gained national attention. A major breakthrough came around May 7th when authorities located the escape vehicle Vicky White purchased under an alias. An alert Tennessee tow truck driver realized he had towed the suspicious orange Ford Edge on April 29th, the day of the jailbreak. U.S. Marshals descended on the Tennessee tow lot and confirmed the towed Ford Edge matched the fugitive's car. They recovered evidence, including Casey's jail radio, handcuffs, and keys discarded in the vehicle. The discovery indicated the pair likely had mechanical trouble with the car before abandoning it on the roadside and switching vehicles. They were somehow able to flee the area undetected to continue their time on the run. Days later, investigators traced the escapees to Indiana after identifying Casey White on surveillance video at an Evansville car wash. He was shown ditching a Ford F-150 truck and leaving in a Cadillac. Authorities now knew to be on the lookout for the Cadillac sedan. The fugitive's frequent vehicle switches and interstate movements reflected Vicky's resourcefulness in evading the law. Each abandoned car helped pinpoint Casey and Vicky's travels along the back roads and across state lines. The vehicles ultimately led a swarm of federal and local law enforcement to the Indiana motel, where the 11-day manhunt culminated in dramatic fashion. After tracing Vicky and Casey across multiple states, federal marshals finally converged on them at an Evansville, Indiana motel on May 9th. Officers initiated a pursuit when the fugitives fled in a Cadillac sedan. A marshal rammed the Cadillac and flipped the car in a ditch. The officers approached, they shouted commands but heard no response. Suddenly, the officers were shocked to hear a gunshot from inside the wreck. Body camera footage captured the intense moments as police tried to assess the situation.
That'd probably be easier in the windshield. Oh, see if it'll open. Good idea. We got cover? Yeah. It's opening. It's opening. Sometimes it's slippery. Just be careful, dude. Yeah. You got me? Yep. I'm gonna go for the gun first. Okay, I'm gonna go for the gun. All right. Grab the gun. I'm gonna grab it. Let me a little bit. All right, pull me out. All right, I got it. All right. Seems safe. Hear me pull her out? Yeah. Somebody pull me. Ready? Keep going. Medics. Hey, go get cleaned up.
Vicky could be seen holding a gun with what appeared to be significant injuries from the crash. An officer asked, "Is she alive?" And another confirmed, "She's still breathing." Officers scrambled to pull Casey from the car and lift Vicky's limp body out onto the ground. One officer carefully removed the gun still in her hand, while the other felt for a pulse. Vicky was rushed to a hospital in very critical condition. Tragically, the 56-year-old corrections officer was pronounced dead from what was ruled to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Meanwhile, Casey White was taken into custody with only minor injuries. He reportedly referred to Vicky as his wife, though it's unclear if they were legally married. The 38-year-old inmate did not admit to shooting Vicky and insisted she pulled the trigger herself. An Evansville coroner made the official determination of suicide for Vicky White's cause of death, but questions have lingered about whether Casey somehow shot her during the chaotic crash and standoff. Regardless of the exact details, Vicky chose to end her life rather than face the severe legal consequences of enabling a dangerous murderer's escape. It was a catastrophic outcome after her shockingly out-of-character decision to betray everything she once stood for. Immediately after his capture, Casey White denied shooting Vicky White and claimed he had no role in her death. He insisted Vicky had taken her own life during the frantic car chase and crash scene. White was transported back to Alabama to face new charges related to the escape. At an arraignment hearing on May 10th, he waived extradition and did not speak to the media gathered outside. White was transferred to the Donaldson State Prison, where he had been serving time since 2020. Despite his escape and Vicky's aid, White maintained his innocence in the 2015 stabbing murder that put him on death row to begin with. In Indiana interviews after the manhunt, White denied killing 58-year-old Connie Ridgway in her Alabama home. He continues to await trial for Ridgway's brutal slaying. Prosecutors are still seeking the death penalty and characterize White as extremely dangerous. The outcome largely depends on whether a jury finds him mentally competent to stand trial. In addition to the murder charges, White now faces new felony counts for his first-degree escape and second-degree forgery related to the April jailbreak. If convicted, those could add decades more to the 75-year sentence for his original violent crimes. Legal experts say White's breakout has severely damaged his murder case's chances at trial. It will be hard for a jury to see past his proven capability of deception, violence, and escaping confinement when considering a possible insanity defense. Regardless of the trial outcomes, the 38-year-old's future will almost certainly involve dying behind bars. Despite White's continued disavowals, his own shocking actions have cemented his reputation as an irredeemable criminal deserving lifelong separation from society. On May 13th, hundreds gathered at Vicky White's memorial service in her hometown of Florence, Alabama. Friends, family members, and former colleagues attended to honor her life, aside from her horrific final mistake. The Lauderdale County District Attorney's Office issued a statement summing up the community's conflicting feelings. It read in part, "Rest in peace, Vicky White. I choose not to judge her on the worst decision she ever made in her life." Many eulogize Vicky as a lifetime public servant who showed immense dedication to her job for nearly 2 decades. They preferred to remember moments of humanity and compassion throughout her law enforcement career. Vicky's mother and close friends felt devastated by the uncharacteristic betrayal of everything she once held dear. Her former mother-in-law, who considered Vicky like a daughter, reflected, "I still don't believe she did that. I still can't get over it." Meanwhile, Sheriff Rick Singleton admitted feeling hurt and outraged by Vicky's betrayal of his trust in her as a high-ranking officer. The entire department felt ashamed. Community members also felt uneasy about the decision she made to arm and free a dangerous murderer awaiting trial, but most found it difficult not to mourn the Vicky White they thought they knew for so many years in the tight-knit Alabama town. The prevailing sentiments were disbelief, profound sadness, and a desire to find some understanding. A local judge who knew Vicky well summed it up, "She just obviously was going through something none of us realized. I just hate that her life ended the way it did over one moment of poor judgment." Brian Enton interviewed Lauderdale District Attorney Chris Connolly.
He said,
"Solid" was my word for her. So when this happened, it was such a shock. But she was not a big talker, is not a big talker, but got things done. So this unbelievable, this didn't happen, and then you get to the point where I am now.
A former inmate had something to say too.
Never thought that she would, break any kind of rules like that. She was the person you could go to if you were having problems with any kind of COs or anything.
In the aftermath of the manhunt, controversy emerged around the $25,000 bounty offered for the fugitive's capture. After Vicky White's death, she was no longer eligible by technicality, but there were competing views on rewarding those involved in Casey White's apprehension. The car wash owner, James Stinson, who called in White's abandoned vehicle, sought no reward and insisted he was just doing the right thing. but over 10,000 people signed a petition asking officials to give the money to Stinton for his role in moving the case forward. The funds remain in limbo. The riveting saga of Vicky White and Casey White came to a dramatic end, but many questions still remain. This tale of an inmate escape and an ensuing manhunt captivated the nation. The unlikely romance between a veteran jailer and a convicted murderer added even more mystery. Their 11 days on the lam speak to deeper issues than one sensational case. What drove a seemingly upstanding public servant to throw away her career and reputation for a prisoner? Should we condemn Vicky White for her troubling betrayal of trust, or empathize with the personal struggles that perhaps clouded her judgment? Where do we draw the line between understanding human weakness and demanding accountability? Was Casey White a manipulative predator exploiting an isolated woman? Or did they share a genuine romantic connection, no matter how ill-advised? While we may never have all the answers, exploring these difficult questions leads to growth. Examining how ordinary people veer so far off course helps us steer our own lives. As always, stay safe out there and make the right choices, even when the temptations seem thrilling. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true crime content. See you next time.